Okay, I'm back. Barely. I actually was super excited about today's live stream because I'm gonna finish Mayberry today. So I cleaned up my area, and as I was cleaning up my area, I punctured my thumb with a with a Persona blade. So if there's any bit of advice I can give to you, don't clean. No. Make sure you remember where you put your blades. Anyway, it's not terrible. It's just hopefully I don't bleed all over this puppet and mess it up. Anyway, okay. So I guess I'll get started on this thing. Yeah. This is how I get demonetized. But okay. So this is the inside of his eyes. I painted them. I'm gonna put I already heated up my glue gun right here, and I'm just gonna glue it in around the top here. So I guess I'll get started on this. And one of the things that I found on these things is that I was actually gluing them all the way to here, and the way I draw it, it actually ends about here and here, and here, and about here and here, and here and here. So that's what I've been doing when I've been rebuilding these things, is just stopping at about that point. Boy, that's hot. Okay. I'm going to slow down so I don't completely injure myself. Hey, TC, how's it going? Oh my gosh, I cannot keep from putting my finger in this hot glue. Okay. Hi, Dave, how's it going? Boy, this is what, the third time I've done this, and this is the first time I constantly burn myself doing this. I just want to go up to about there. Okay, that's one side. Oh, fantastic! Say you're slowly making puppy progress at your end. Okay. If you ever figure out a way to use a hot glue gun without burning yourself, you'd certainly go viral and probably become a millionaire. Haha. Yeah. Well, the one thing that I usually do is I usually have a little thing of water here that I can dip my finger in so I don't actually burn myself. But yeah, then I run the risk of spilling it. So I don't know which is worse. The other thing is that I actually glued this in. Usually I don't run it as hot as it is because I usually start it up, and I'm a very impatient person, and I will start using it before it's completely hot. But when I cut my finger, it was already plugged in, and so it got a little hotter than I anticipated. Yeah. I've just about eliminated every use of the hot glue gun that I used to do on these puppets. Or did I not cut that much? I cut it just long enough. But this one is, I don't know an easier way to do it. Almost exact. Okay, well, I managed not to ruin those, so that's good. All right, so I got the little line around his eyes done. Boy, I did a bang up job there. All right, I love a product that was flat like double-sided tape, initially sticky enough to hold something in place, and then you would know you could run a hot mini iron. Oh, that's a good idea. Don't they make something like that for hemming pants? I wonder if that would work. I know I've used something like that a couple of times when I've hemmed pants. Unlike the way my mom used to staple my, used to hem my pants and just use a stapler. Okay, all right, so that's done. Okay, I'm gonna set these eyes. I'm gonna unplug the glue gun so I don't burn myself again or burn down the house. I'm gonna set these aside because there's something that will get ruined while I'm trying to get the antenna on. Hey, bud, not stepping because I'm absolutely mentally and physically exhausted, but thought I'd pop in and say hello. Hey, Scott. Okay. All right, get these out of the way. Make sure there's no strings. Or not too many strings. here. Remind me when I lose that it's up at the top of the thing. All right. All right. So there's this is where the fun part is. Oh, there's this big Frankenstein scar. All right. So here's an antenna, which I improved upon Roberta's a little bit in that I put an extra couple of zigzags in there because hers flopped around so much. And actually, I don't know if that might be the same, but I made a second one for inside that I put another zigzag in. So what will happen is this is going to lock in here like so with zip ties through the foam here, here, and here. And then that should lock it in place. At least that's the plan. But I want to see, because I'm going to have to elongate these holes. I think the easiest way would be just to snip them here. These big knobs aren't going to fit through. I think what I'll do is I'll snip them after I've put them in place, and then they'll actually line up. Okay. So those look about right to me. Here we go. Everybody's favorite part. Actually, I'm going to mark it before I do anything. I guess it doesn't much matter which way they go on. That feels a little bit better. I'm going to make sure his hair covers it too. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself. Yeah, it's gonna be a head wound. A second. This is where I'll make the incisions. Okay, marked it. No, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, he doesn't have much brain, so. Actually, let me get prepped here. Let me get prepped for surgery. Some zip ties out. Where's the other plate that I had right here? Sorry, this is a lot of pressure for me and my surgical abilities. Okay, that's the way it's going to go on. So I want it to go on like so. So I did this once on Roberta. Hopefully I'll never have to do it again. His eyes are just shut. Okay. Here goes nothing. This is your favorite. There's that. Let me make sure I have this going the right way. All right. I think that's right. This would be so much easier if I had just thought of this plan when I made this originally. Okay, I got the first one. The biggest part is not pulling it all the way through. Boy, this Band-Aid is not helping me either. You know, I saw a thing that this guy online did. I wonder if I could do that. We're going to try it. So what he did was... Okay, wait 1 second. Sorry, I'm doing this completely blind here. Okay, so that's there. And then what he did was he folded a zip tie in half. Yeah, that's true. Then he stuck it through the little hole. Just make it just a little bit bigger. Okay. So he took the bent zip tie and he fed it through. So it made a loop on the other side. And then he fished it through. Ah, look at that. Look at that. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Let me make sure it's all lined up. Get his antenna. It is using the force. Hey, Amber. I just need like a third hand. Once I get this first one, it shouldn't be. Here we go. All right. Okay, so that first one's in. Let's do the second one. I can't believe that thing worked. All right, so there's that. Okay, so I'm going to poke another hole. Feed that through. Feed that through. Wrap it around that little wire thing that's in there. All right. Now, all right, let me. I swear this is a good idea, everybody. No, it's just his antennas. They actually kind of look like glasses. Okay, where's my bent? There's my bent one. Okay, I'm going to stick that through that hole that I just made. See if I can do this twice. They should stand up after I get the second one in here. Okay, I'm going to feed that through that little. Ah, there it goes. Look at that. Hopefully you guys are cheering along. Yes, he's an alien. I may have to put a couple extra things in this, but that's okay. Okay. All right. Third one. No, I mean they never wiggled in the comic. I don't know why I would ever build something like that into it. I mean, I might be able to wiggle them, but I mean his head's hollow, just like the real Mayberry, just like me. I'm not cutting new holes. I'm just like making the one hole big enough for a zip tie to get through. All right, here's the third one. Loop it around. Okay, there's that. All right. There's the loop. There's the loop. Here we go. Oh, almost got it. Oh, did I pull it through? Nope. Here it is. Okay. Now I got to twist it around because it got turned. Oops. Well, I just pulled it out, but it was turned around. I couldn't tighten it down. All right, let's try this again. It's a new party game for everybody. Okay, there's that. What happened to my bent zip tie? Come on. You can do it. All right. Okay, I'm going to put 2 back here to keep them straight up and down. I know it distorts his head quite a bit. That's okay. His hair will cover it. So his hair will cover all that. But I'm going to put a couple more back here. It won't have a plate to go into, but I think it'll be okay. Yeah, that was on that Stilt Beast website. I watch them make masks and stuff out of expanding foam. All right, put that through. There's nothing to loop around, so. The problem with the old ones is they flopped around so bad that. Okay, there's that. Okay, one more, and then I'm going to cut off all these things and put his hair back on. Only us will know. Only we will know the horrors that are inside of his head here. This is also how I'm going to get my hair plugs done. Okay, let's see. I'll tell you what, once you kind of figure this out, it's a pretty good technique. Just don't let it go down below the surface there, or get twisted around. Wait, one more time. I'm gonna flip it. Sorry, I got to fish that one out again. It was flipped over, so I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to tighten it. Yeah, he was making scarecrows out of those Home Depot buckets, and this is how he attached all the buckets together with zip ties using this technique. Of course, this last one is the most difficult. All right, here we go. I got it. Okay, tighten all these guys up. Flip off all these tails. Okay. Yeah, it looks terrible. Okay, so now if I flip this forward, this is the antenna straight here now. The lineup of those holes, which is great. And then I can just sew all this back together. Honestly, these are so much better than the ones I've been using for years with the spring. I mean, they look like the drawing, which is great. And you can see how those antennae actually look more like the ones that that I draw than those big hunkin' ones I had on there before. I think I'm too short to put that back up. Okay. All right. Get some yellow thread. Apparently, all I have is bright yellow thread. Okay. All right. Home stretch. Got to keep that Band-Aid on somehow. So you said maybe take some wire that you use for a posable arm and make a loop on one end and twist the wire on the other end for a reusable tool. That's a good idea. I've actually done something like that before. Unfortunately, I always end up losing the piece of wire and then just having to make a new one anyway. So what I liked about this was, I mean, with a loop or a hook, you have a tendency to get snagged. You have to make the hole a little bit bigger. And I love that this thing was as wide as the hole. So anyway, all right. But yeah, I have done that with the loop of wire. We're so close to finishing this puppet. I cannot believe it. Okay. This thumb is really give me problems here. Okay. I probably should have rebuilt this thing from scratch. I mean, you can see how much fatigue this fleece has undergone over the years. But again, he's not terrible. He's one of the first modern puppets that I built. So I think I'm about to try Laura's technique with using the rubber glove fingertips. Even though this thread is not nearly the same color, it blends in really well. Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to reattach that ear too. So the reason I did it in this order of putting the not putting the eyes on yet was because I was afraid that all that moving around and everything was just going to scratch them up. Ugh. It's Miller time. Okay. So I still got one more puppet to build. I still have to build Sammy, and then I'm not sure what I'll do with it. I mean, it'd be pretty cool if I know that I want to get a picture of them all set up, so I better start building some more stands. Maybe I can get Eric and Roger over here to do a little puppet show. Come on. There's so much fabric because of all these tufts. Yeah, Amber, I am really happy with this solution for these antenna. If I hadn't rebuilt Ralph and had to come up with that solution, it never would have occurred to me to do it this way. So like each puppet kind of informs the next. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. You know, sometimes you know, there's something that doesn't work, and I vow never to do it again. Huh? I'm not sure that I have to tie those or sew those slits up. They're not really noticeable. It might be more noticeable if I sewed it up. I don't know. It's something I could do later. So I was cleaning. Laura asked what I did to my thumb. I got done with what I was doing this morning. I'm building another project, and I got done and had about 15 minutes. I'm like, I'll clean up this workspace and get ready. And so as I was doing that, I picked up a piece of fabric and there was persona underneath it and put my thumb right through it. And yeah, so like I said, at the beginning of this, the moral of the story is don't clean. Or remember where you put your blades. I usually put them over on this side, but for whatever reason, it was over on this side. It wasn't bad. It just was. I didn't want to bleed all over the puppet. Okay, there you go. So on this, his hair is like a beanie that I put on, and then it was the same stuff that I used for the tufts at the top. And then I went through with scissors and I cut it all so that, or, cut the back and then added the tufts. All right, so there's that. I'm gonna fix this ear real quick before it falls off. Yeah, I don't think I need stitches. I've cut myself like this before, and I never learn it, I guess. But I cut myself like this before, and it's actually pretty. It's pretty shallow. It was just like a really deep paper cut. Biggest thing is not being able to use this thumb. once I fix this ear. Now on Roberta, once I put the eyes in, I didn't have to put any stitches along the sides. It sunk in really cool. So I'm hoping that that's the case. They have the same head, so. Same head shape, same head pattern. I think this was intact when I started, but when I was bending that ear over trying to sew the hair on, I think I knocked it loose. So one of the things that I try to do when I'm draping is I try to put the dart in line with the ear so that I have something I can line up on both sides. So there's a dart that runs right here that I use to line up the ears. And I know that it needs to be a certain distance from the mouth and a certain distance from that dart. It gives me a little bit of help. Probably should use that curved needle again. Okay. All right. So there he is. Now, where did I put those eyes? No, I'm just kidding. I knew they were here. Okay. All these fuzzies. Okay, so that'll go like that. All right. About 20 years ago after a show, and we were okay, wait, I got to answer these questions. What kind of metal is the wire for his antenna? It's the same rod that I use for arm rods, so the welding rod, 3/32 welding rod, and then I put ink shrink tubing over it. And this is why I don't do, why I paint my rods. So this is the same wire. And you see how much thicker the heat shrinked wire rod is than the painted one. I just don't like how thick it is, but I wanted it thicker for the antenna, so that's why I used it for that. Okay, and the next thing. Laura says, about 20 years ago after a show, we were dismantling the PV pipe stage. I whacked my face real good to get 2 pieces unstuck. It was bleeding pretty good. The stage manager yelled out, "Don't bleed on the puppets." Not, "Are you okay?" or "Do you need a doctor?" Yeah, that's pretty typical. All right, wait. Let me grab one of these and one of these. Okay, here's Dave's favorite part. It's whatever Harbor Freight has. I know BJ swears by that copper clad stuff, but I've done okay with just the regular stuff. All right, so I'm going to stick those in. Like a glove. Oh boy. All right, so I see now why I should be doing this right-handed. I can't grasp that nut well enough to do this. Maybe I can. Okay, I got started. Okay. Grab that other washer and that other nut. Wow. I guess doing 3 of these in a row like this has made it a little easier for me because I can start a business. That's a little obscene. Oh, in case you do get blood on a puppet, you can use hydrogen peroxide to get the blood stains out. I learned that while working in a hospital emergency room. Really, they got a lot of puppets in the emergency. I'm teasing you, but should have gotten shorter bolts. Come on. I got one tightened. See, I need to figure out how to get a ratchet up inside there. Okay. Oh my gosh, that looks great. All right. Probably put his pupils on. I know basically where the pupils are going to go. I can adjust them later too. So. Just think how good I can be when I have 2 thumbs. I'm sure I'll be adjusting these later. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm just going to say that's where they're going to be. I may adjust them later. He's weird because he's got such huge eyes. You have to kind of futz with them. All right, I'm just going to put those there. Call it a day. All right. Do you put anything on the nut so it doesn't work itself off? No, I don't. I don't think it gets a lot of. Of course, I'm pretty new to using the nut, but I don't know how I would put. I mean, I guess I could put a lock washer in there, but. And all that's holding his body in place here is I have two rings that are about the same size. That one's attached to the foam and the others are actually there's no ring in this because I'm just using Phosshape. So it's the bottom of the Phoshape to the ring that's in the neck sleeve. Let's see how that works. All right. All right. All right, so he's back together. Here we go. Hey guys, how's it going? So yeah, I think he's much better than he was. Yeah, cool. All right, so how many stands do I have? I think I have 5 stands. Let's see if I can get the whole crew up here. All right. Just a second. I'll adjust the camera too, so we can. Okay, so there's Mayberry. I think he's not quite centered in there yet. All right. Okay, there's another stand. There's a stand. Ralph on there. Then, there's another stand. Sam. Okay. Second. Okay. There's Ralphie. I'll pop him out front because he's the important one. All right, and then one more stand. Just looking for something to prop this up so it hangs straight. All right, there's that. There's Roberta. And then when I finally get around to it, I'll have Sammy. So there's the whole gang. I don't have another stand, though. Let's see what I can do. I guess it's not important because I don't have another. He's just looming over him. Stupid. All right, guys. That's the whole Melonpool gang, minus Sammy, which I just got to finish. But yeah. So this is the first time I've had all 6 of them since probably 2005. Okay, so let me answer the questions here. What's the age of Melonpool supposed to be? He's about 24. That's when I started the strip, so I kind of I guess that's kind of what I always thought was that he was about the same age as I was when I started. Then other question. Did you vacuum form the eyes or 3D print them? I vacuum formed the eyes. Back when I made these eyes would have been about 2011, so 2012. So it wasn't really that well. It wasn't that accessible to have a 3D printer back then. And I really haven't ever done anything like that. Yeah, so I guess on Monday I'll start Sammy up. At least that's the plan. It may be Tuesday. I'm on deadline on Monday, so I probably will not do his live stream on Monday. But anyway, any other questions about this? Melonpool books are still available on Amazon.com if you're very interested in this. Also, a good chunk of the puppets are the comics are still up on Melonpool.com. But yeah, thanks for going along on this weird trip down memory lane on these guys. Were the vacuum eyes the only ones you used when you started out, or did you use something else? Okay, so originally I used felt on the first one. The second one, they used to sell at Save-On these white plastic balls. And so I actually took one of them, and it was about this big. It was like a beach ball, but it was like the super cheap ones. And so what I did was I actually cut out the shape. I drew the shape on it, cut it out, and then I turned it inside out, and I was able to use that for an eye. And that lasted about 15 minutes. It was a terrible idea. And then eventually what I used was these acrylic domes that you could get at Home Depot. And then I could cut with my Dremel, and I would cut out this shape. I think I still have a Melonpool that has that eye on it, but it's out in the garage. So why foss-shaped body instead of foam? Okay, the reason is because they're so thin. Mayberry's old body, which I still have, unless I threw it away. I might have thrown it away out of disgust. No, it's right there. So this is his old body. And it's about an inch thicker than his current body. And so when I made this one, he always had a thin body, so I tried to make it as thin as possible. And then Roberta, her whole setup, it's so thin you can barely get your hand up inside there, even with the foss shape. But with the foam, it just bulked her out too much. So that was how I started using it. But this still has foam. And I probably won't change that one out because I don't have any more of that fur. So I can't really make a new body. But Yeah, 4 of the 6 are going to have foss-shaped bodies, I guess. And it's just basically to make them thinner. And it was easy. I mean, you use the same pattern as you use for the fabric. I made a buck that is just a big. Let's see. Roberta's here too. So the buck is just a tube I made out of a floor mat, and then sewed up the foss shape in that thing, stuck it on there, hit it with a steamer, and then popped it off. And then with the Roberta, I could do the same thing. I just basically there's this shape in here, and there's a slit up the back because of this negative area. I couldn't get it up over her back. So with it cut, I could, once it was all shaped, I could kind of distort it like this so I could get the foss shape off. But it's a super easy way to do it, and I ended up ordering more because it seemed to work really well. Now they may fail down the road, who knows, but I'm pretty happy with them. And with Ralph, I've been using the 4-inch ornaments for Guy. So I had 3-inch ornaments on the 2001 ones, and then when I rebuilt them in 2005, that was when I started using the 4-inch ones, and they seem to work really well. They're about the right proportion for the size head. But yeah, I think those are probably as good of the eyes I'm going to be able to get on these guys. So, and Mayberry and Roberta and Sam all have the same eyes, but I just cut Sam's down a little bit to make them smaller. Could you explain more about foss shape? Okay, so foss shape is this stuff. I only have a very little bit left, but when you get it, it's like a really heavy felt, and then you can sew it. You can sew it on the sewing machine. You can, basically make a garment out of it if you wanted to. You just have to have something that it can conform to when you heat it up, and it's got microplastic or some sort. It has thermoplastic embedded in the weave. So what ends up happening is you can put it on the thing, and then when you hit it you can hit it with a heat gun, but it'll burn it really quick. So beware of that. You use a steamer, and it will freeze into the shape of whatever you have made a buck of. And so, like if I had this on here, like so, all sewn up, I hit it with that, and then when I popped it off, it would stay in that shape, which is pretty cool. And it's basically used for making hats, so it seemed like a great option. And it ends up only being like a 1/4 of an inch thick all the way around. I use a 600. I don't know about 600D. What's that? Is that just a little bit stiffer? Or is it the black? I just got the same stuff that I saw Adam Savage demoing, and that's how I figured out that's how I decided to try it. And I had bought it like 2 years before I ever tried it. I just was, I had bought it, I got laid off, and then I forgot about it until I started building these puppets and wondered if it would work. It's a little expensive. I think I bought a yard of it for $37. And I was able to get 1, 2, 3, 4. I did that cape. I got basically about 5 bodies off of it. So, it's about the same as I would get off of a half sheet of foam. So it's a little bit more expensive, but I think it's worth the look. Have you ever used Duracollars for anything? Yeah, so I had Duracollars on his eyebrows originally. He had BJ did a mech class for Stan Winston, and he had his demo sitting around on workbench for a year or so. And I tried to build one, it wouldn't work. And he says, just use that one. And so I had the demo that he made in that class in his head. But and it had Dura collars on there for the eyebrows. But I had a problem when I moved into this place. I lost one of his eyebrows. It popped off, and I couldn't find another Dura collar that would fit what I had made. And I didn't really have have access to a place to figure out what size collar I needed. So I ended up it never really worked real well. So I just popped those eyebrows out and took out the mechanism. And that's why he has that Frankenstein scar under his eyes, because that was where the mech went in. And I never supported it well enough, so it always kind of wobbled around and barely worked. So I haven't used. That's the only thing I've used Dura collars for. So anyway, I guess I got to come up with a puppet show now to use these guys for. I mean, I do have the 120-page script of the movie I tried to do. I could. Well, I'm not going to start. I'm not going to open that can of worms. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, it'll be fun to build Sammy, and then I'll try and get a photo shoot done with all the puppets. But I have. Do I have access to those? Yeah. Let me. 1 second. I know I've showed this the other day, but those are the original Melonpool puppets that I made in '94. And then we go, there we go. So, there we go. It's just, it's like a really bad, whatchamacallit, a slideshow. Okay, so the dog does not have antenna because he's a dog. And the giant hamster doesn't have antenna because he's a giant hamster. Okay, so he's a Melosian. He's obsessed with television. He gets TV through his antenna. She's also a Melosian, but she's not nearly as tuned into the wavelengths, so she can actually function as a person. Ralph is Xenobopian, and he actually is a mad scientist, and he's addicted to coffee. And he comes from a different planet than Mayberry. And then he cloned himself, and he got a good clone, which is Ralphie. And then Sam was a test pilot for. This is all stuff I came up with when I was in like 11th grade or 11 years old. So he was a test pilot from the planet K9, and he crash landed on Mayberry's planet, and they became friends. And when Mayberry was made captain of his spaceship, he became first mate. So that's why he wears the Gilligan hat. So there you go. And he's actually a telepathic dog. He sends, but he can't receive. So in the comic strip, he talks in little thought balloons, but everybody can hear him. It makes sense to Amber. I know. She's heard me go on about this over and over. And Sammy, the giant hamster, the 5-foot-tall, 220-pound hamster, is the engine to the ship. And he was a failed experiment of Ralph's that became the engine. He originally wanted like 250 normal-sized hamsters, but then he had an enlarging array that made one giant one. I did over, I think it's around 2,500 comic strips. More than that. probably close to 3,000 comic strips, daily comic strips about Mayberry, and then collected into 6 books. And I had a couple of different comic books that I did. So there's quite a bit of there's quite a bit of history with them. Yeah, they all have reticulated foam tongues. I started doing that because one thing that all puppeteers who are trying to come up with their own stuff try to do is they try to have a look that is different than the Muppets just in some way. I mean, we're all using the same materials, and so like I think the eyes and the mouth and the tongues are kind of the thing I do. That's my look, I guess. I started doing that with the dogs, and I don't really like the craft foam, fun foam tongues. They're always kind of, I don't know, weird to me. But I mean, I just dyed some reticulated foam pink, and it seems to work. If you really want, if you have 17 minutes to kill, you can watch the original Melonpool movie that I made in 1994 on YouTube. Just look up Melonpool movie, and you can see both my first building puppets, first performing puppets. A lot of the same people that still do the same puppets, my friends from college, and they still, I can usually truck them out to do the puppets. We filmed it on the Star Trek set that I built when I was in high school, and as well as a park. And it's great for somebody who had never done any of those things before. Oh, I go to a place called Atlas Foam in Burbank, and that's, I think, the best that I've seen. Well, thank you, Elaine. I don't think I've seen you before on here. Where's the best place to buy reticulated? Yeah, Atlas Foam in Burbank is one place, and then I found a place called Foam Online, which I bought some foam with. They have really good prices, but their shipping is a lot. Like I bought $40 worth of foam, and it cost $40 to ship it. So I don't know where the best place is. That's why I do all my patterning and upholstery foam, is I just get the shapes I need and then transfer it over to reticulated foam just for the final puppets, because it's too expensive to do it any other way. Well, that might be the end of my little Q&A, Melonpool Q&A. Again, there's a whole rich history. And I kind of, I didn't really do much with it for about 12 or 13 years. And this has kind of made me think about doing something with it again. So it's been a fun project, revisiting these puppets and these characters. So anyway, more on Monday or Tuesday. So I guess stay tuned. All right. No other questions. I will head out for the night, and have a good weekend. Yeah, me too, Laura. Thank you for popping in. All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye.